Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to an amazing tournament that started yesterday. Welcome to the Superbet Rapid and Blitz chess event that's going on now in Warsaw in Poland. So it's a beautiful chess event of 10 top grandmasters. They'll first of all play 9 rounds of rapid chess and then they'll play 18 rounds of blitz chess. Among many great players, also Magnus Carlsen is playing. It's now his first event that he's playing while he's not the world champion anymore. And yesterday it was a tough day for him. He played only 2 draws and lost 1 game. In the lead so far after the first 3 rounds were the top grandmasters Wesley, Levon Ronen and Jan-Krzysztof. So we are starting now the day 2 with a beautiful game played by Wesley against Kiril Shevchenko from Ukraine. In my opinion, really a beautiful game that shows how you have to be really a monster, how you have to be really well prepared in opening stage, because if you make one tiny little inaccuracy in the opening stage, you could get destroyed. So in my opinion, really beautiful chess game to study. The tempo of the game is 25 minutes on the clock plus 10 seconds increment. So let's see now what happened. Wesley with the white pieces opened with the move e4. Kirill Shevchenko's response was c5. The Sicilian knight to f3, d6, bishop to b5. We have the Moscow variation, the Moscow attack, and basically this line is the positional line forcing black to make bishop to d7 or knight to d7. After many moves, probably many pieces will be traded off, and then you have to positional battle. You have to really sort of positional struggle. In my opinion, it's a line that simplifies the game enough now for both sides. So in the game, knight to d7 was played by Shevchenko. We have d4, c takes d4, queen to d4, a6, kicking away the bishop. You can retreat now to e2, or you can also pick up now the knight on d7. If you play this bishop to d7 line after bishop to d7, then probably white will go into the Marozzi bind structure, will play the move c4 afterwards, will have then still a compact positional light squares, but here Wesley keeps both of the bishops on the game. In the game, simply retreats with the bishop on e2. Knight to f6, kingside castling, e5. We have now this sort of Najdorf pawn structure here with the move e5 and d6. It's of course creating a tempo against the queen on d4, but the downside is of course that you leave a weak square in the position, the weak square d5, and also the weak pawn, a backward pawn on d6 in black's position. So queen to e3, Shevchenko attacks now the pawn twice, knight to c3, here played by Wesley. So knight to g4, queen to d2, and now knight to f6. Maybe Shevchenko also hoped that Wesley goes into perpetual, maybe by playing again the move queen to e3, but Wesley played, I think, this opening really correctly. He played rook to d1, knight to e4 so far is not possible immediately, because after knight to e4, knight takes e4, queen to e3. The problem is now if you play d5, of course, then you're leaving your e5 pawn unprotected. If you play something like knight to c5 here, then of course knight takes e5 will happen. You cannot pick up the knight because of the tensions here on the d file. So very nice preparation so far by Wesley in the opening. Rook to d1, bishop to e7, queen to e1, played by Wesley. Still the rook is kept on the d file, where of course the queen is endangered. Queen to c7 by Kirill Shevchenko, getting out of this mess, and now finally knight to d2 protecting now the pawn on e4. b5 by Shevchenko. He is threatening to play the move b4, but now beautiful move here by Wesley. b4, knight to e6 from this square. Of course, black has 2 chances on d4 and maybe to hop with the knight on f4, but now knight to b3. Wesley first of all controls the weak square on d4 and is also preparing himself an outpost here on d5, and now the queen is connected to the knight on c3, so the knight is not endangered. And now Kirill Shevchenko makes what is in my opinion already even the crucial mistake in the game. He plays bishop to b7, it seems so, and 90% of any players I think would play this move because you are controlling the d5 square, but it's actually not so good. First of all, what you have to do, let's see why is it important to first castle. After move kingside castle, that would be the better move for Shevchenko. If Wesley would have played maybe now knight to d5, knight takes d5, okay, e takes d5, the knight will probably not jump on d4, because after knight to d4, rook to d4, okay, maybe white has also the weak pawn on c2, but let's see, maybe if black plays now the move bishop, knight to f4, then of course bishop to f4 is going to happen, e takes f4, and now rook to c1 can be met here by with the tricky move by black. Pardon me. Black can play the tricky f3 after bishop to f3, bishop to g5. The rook gets attacked. You can maybe cover with a knight, but now queen to c3, and I think this is a solid game for For black, you're down with pawn, but you have the beautiful bishop pair. We will attack the queen probably. We will include the rook into the game on the c file. So although white gained the pawn, but this would be really an unpleasant game here for black. In the game, bishop to b7 was played by Shevchenko, so he didn't castle. It's now a different story because now Wesley played knight to d5. Anyway, we have knight takes d5, e takes d5, knight to f4, the same sequence, bishop to f4, e takes f4, rook to c1. But now the whole concept of f3 is not working here because after bishop to f3, you cannot play bishop to g5 anymore because the bishop is pinned to the queen, and afterwards we'll play simply c4, maybe bishop to e2, c4. So it's not the same story anymore here. White should be much better. So after move rook from a to c1 here, finally kingside castling by Shevchenko, but now you see Wesley can solve all of the positional problems of the backward pawn. He will eventually play the move c4, b takes c4, rook to c4. Now Wesley simply grabs the pawn, and it's a better position, and still the rook is connected also to the pawn on b4. So here I think it's a one-way ticket now in white's favor. Rook to e8, rook to e1. Wesley competes now the e file, bishop to f6, bishop to d3. Maybe tiny little inaccurate move here by Wesley. Bishop to f3, maybe slightly better. Connecting the bishop to the pawn on d5. This was the way to go, but okay, after bishop to d3, we have king to f8, bishop to f1, g6 by Shevchenko. Maybe again rook to e4, rook to e4. Maybe getting this rook, other rook into the game was slightly better, but okay, here after move g6, knight to a5 by Wesley. Good move. Attacking the bishop, also attacking the weak square on c6. We have to say the c6 square is also something that bothers probably black in the continuation of the game. We have now rook to c8, a3 by Wesley, rook to e4, rook takes queen to e4, rook to c3, attacking now the pawn, and now queen to f4. Good move by Wesley, attacking now the bishop, attacking also the pawn on d6. Rook to a3 is actually never a possibility, even if the bishop would not be loose here on f6, because there is always the tactic knight to c4, attacking the queen, attacking the rook, and also attacking the pawn on d6. So in the game, bishop to e5 was played by Shevchenko, queen drops back to h6, but also attacks the king, bishop to g7, here played by Shevchenko. We have queen to h7, and still you cannot pick up the pawn on a3 because you get the fork on c4. So that's why Shevchenko attacked now the pawn on f2. Wesley protects the pawn now with the move queen to h4, g5 by Kirill Shevchenko. He plays really tricky line, forces basically the queen to get back from the defense of the pawn on f2, and Wesley accepts the challenge. Although queen to g3 is also perfectly fine, you can do it like this, but Wesley almost said here, show me what you got, show me what you have prepared. Let's see now what's going to happen in this beautiful tactical sequence. So after move queen to g5, of course queen to f2 by Shevchenko, we have king to h1, bishop to d4, even threatening the checkmate here on g1, bishop to d3, bishop to e3, attacking the queen drops back now to g3, and now we have now basically a 4 sequence now. Basically, black needs now to react here, trade off the queens, or trade off the queens in a different way, because you can do it in 2 ways. You can play maybe here the move rook to d2. It's a more tactical approach. After queen to e1, queen to f2 here, pardon me, rook to d1. Now you can play queen to f1, then rook to f1, bishop to f1. Still, of course, white should be much better because of the possibility to create attack on the queen side here. The bishop is loose, the pawn on a6 is weak, the pawn on d6 is weak, so in my opinion, this would be a perfect game here for white. So in the game, after move queen to g3, Shevchenko took the queen on g3, created at least a double pawn structure, but still it's not working because after rook to c7, here actually Wesley could have won the game immediately. I think he played bishop to f5. This was now maybe even the first mistake here by Wesley. So knight to b7 is, in my opinion, here much better. Look at this, knight to b7, bishop to a6. Okay, maybe there is this resource, rook to a7, but probably Wesley missed this move. A rook to d3 would solve all of the positional problems. After rook takes a6, rook to e3. Look at this, we have now 2 connected passers on the queen side, and I think there is a clear path now for the king. The king will march to towards the pawns on the f file, here to also the pawn on d6. Black's king will be always stuck to the defense of the potential promotion on the queen side here, so it's a completely winning game here for white. So after move bishop to f5 here, actually Kirill can get back into the game. He plays bishop to a8, g4 by Wesley, king to g7, bishop to e4, rook to c8, threatening here a dangerous check. Of course, it would be even a checkmate on h6, so that's why g3, rook to c3. We have king to h2. Now another mistake here by Wesley, allowing here this pawn to be taken on a3. A better way was to play the move a4. This was the way to go, but here Shevchenko rushed. After move king to h2, he played rook to a3 immediately. This wasn't good. He should have played first bishop to b6, attacking the knight. When the knight drops back somewhere, then you have the opportunity to pick up the pawn on a3. It's a different story, because after rook to a3, now again, we have seen in the previous examples that the fork would be possible. Now this knight is attacking three pieces here, the pawn, the bishop, and the rook. You have to step back, and now here Wesley so picks up now the pawn on d6, and the problem is now we have the passer on the d file. Not that it's only a passer, it's a supported passer with the rook, supported with the minor pieces. Knight to f5 is a threat, so many tactical opportunities are now here also for Wesley. So in the game, rook to b4, attacking now also the bishop. If you play knight to f5, then of course yours also bishop on e4 is hanging. So that's why here Wesley had to make a reaction, and he played again a tiny little inaccurate move, rook to f1. First, I think you have to play bishop to g2, because after rook to f1 that Shevchenko played, there is now again this idea to play bishop to c5. Okay, white can maybe play rook takes f7, we drop back to g8, but now the knight is a little bit overloaded to the defense of the rook on f7, and also to the defense of the bishop on e4. And in the fourth tactical sequence, I think that Wesley so really messed it up almost, because Kirill had maybe the chance to make sort of a drawish line. But after move rook to f1, Shevchenko again doesn't play the best move. He played king to g8, bishop to c5, much better attack the knight. In the game, bishop to g2 now finally by Wesley, so he doesn't want to have this knight overloaded to the defense, as we said, of both of these pieces. And now Shevchenko makes a huge blunder that cost him here the game, I think. Rook to g4 immediately played by Shevchenko, and it's now a winning game, because here Wesley saw the winning sequence. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the winning idea here for white. Wesley of course saw that immediately. Okay, Wesley played the move rook to e1. The bishop drops back now to c5, but it's a little bit too late. Pardon me. After bishop to c5, now comes a dangerous check wherever you go. In the game, into h7 was played. Even if you play king to g7, it's not working here, because after king to g7 you get knight to f5. You can maybe drop back here to f6, but now we first pick up here the bishop on a8. You can pick up the knight, but now you get a beautiful fork here. Not fork, pardon me. Here this skewer tactic. You have this beautiful bishop to h3 move. This rook is pinned, and it's game over here for black. If you play like Kirill Shevchenko did here, king to h7, then knight to e4 is winning the game, because the bishop is hanging. We have also an attack here against the bishop. The fork is threatened. You can play here rook to e4, but after bishop to e4 the game is over. If you play something like bishop to e3 here, then knight to f6 is of course winning. So you cannot protect everything here. It's simply a messed up game here for Kirill Shevchenko. If you play here bishop to d4 here, then rook to a8 will simply pick it up, and still this knight is protected by the bishop, so everything is messed up here for black. So after move rook to e8, king to h7, knight to e4, in this position Kirill Shevchenko resigned, which means now that Wesley is in the lead, combined with Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Jan also won his game today 11-1, and played a draw against Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. So still be a very, very intense tournament, but Magnus has to make something to happen now. He has to finally win some games. If he plays only draws, of course, this could not be a good tournament for him. So far, Wesley is in the lead, and in my opinion, Wesley is now maybe even the top favorite to win this beautiful chess event. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. Really, very interesting ideas of the Moscow variation of the Sicilian defense. If you want to see more Wesley Soul games and maybe some other commented chess games here on my YouTube chat channel, here's the link of my playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.